there's some brand new tanks coming into World of Tanks alongside the new Monster Hunter vehicles and Monster Hunter game mode that we'll be having this week on World of Tanks. So let's get into what this event and all of the tanks that are coming out, including the two brand new premium vehicles which you'll be able to pick up in the game, which look very interesting, shall we say. We got both the normal version of the tank, what it's going to be like in the standard mode on World of War 2, and of course Cold War, since we have one for each, and how they're going to actually play and everything that you kind of need to know about them. So first things first, we do have the Roswell XM66F, which is a tier 8 American tank destroyer, similar looking to something like the Vipera, for example. And we can get into the armor model, how it's going to play. And it almost looks like a hybrid between a Vipera and the Excalibur, the tier 6 tank destroyer. So it's an interesting one for sure. So this is also a tank destroyer, and thanks to its turbo mode and stellar alpha damage, the Roswell XM66F feels like a spaceship. That frontal sloped turret, it's also very well protected and will, when combined with your gun's excellent gun depression values, provide you with a solid hold down performance. That's what Wargaming is saying anyway. But assume your position quickly with turbo mode, and so of course this vehicle does indeed have turbo mode. We can get into what that actually impacts on this vehicle. So if you don't already know, the turbo mode that you have on something like the CS63, which is the Polish medium tank at tier 10, and some of the other vehicles that we have in the game, a turbo mode is essentially where you press, I believe it's like down on the D-pad, and then you're allowed to move faster, but then you get slightly worse accuracy and slightly worse aim time, that sort of thing. But on this tank, what you have is a top speed of a power to weight ratio of 13.64 as your standard forward, and then 18.18 when you're using the turbo mode. You go from 35 kilometers an hour top speed when you're in the standard mode, which has that better accuracy, etc., up to 45 kilometers an hour. So it's actually pretty decent speed when you consider all of the other things that this tank has. You then also go from 12 kilometers an hour backwards to 15 kilometers an hour, so slightly better in that regard. And it takes 2 seconds to switch between the two modes. So you have to stay stationary, it takes 2 seconds. Then when you switch, you can use all of the bonuses that you get from using either mode. Other than that, we get 10 degrees of gun depression, which is amazing. Hull traverse speed and turret traverse speed are awful. I mean, genuinely awful. 26 degrees a second as your hull traverse, which is kind of in line with what you see from the Italian tank destroyers. And then this has 16 degrees a second turret traverse for, of course, the turret. Then now this also gets a 30-degree yaw limit, so unfortunately the tank can only turn so far either side, only 30 degrees, so it only gives you a 60-degree spread, which is not very good at all, and so is going to be a bit of a pain in the arse. You can almost consider this a non-turreted, to be honest with you, when it comes to this vehicle. You do have 400 alpha damage with 232 penetration as standard, with 276 as premium, which is very good. 60 millimeters of HE pen with 515 damage. So some quite decent HE there for if you're meeting those light tanks and lightly armored medium vehicles in the game. The aim time, as when you're using the standard mode, is 2 seconds compared to the 3.3 seconds when you're using the turbo mode. You've got 0.34 accuracy, you've got a rate of fire of 5.83, meaning that your total damage per minute as a tier 8 tank destroyer is 2,332, which is... it's not great, but it's going to come up when you're using all of the perks and equipment to probably like 3,000, something like that. Maybe slightly less, maybe like 2,800. We'll do a review of this vehicle in the game this week, so when it goes live and it's actually in the game, we'll do a full review so you guys will know exactly what it's all about. But a brief overview to tell you the kind of things that you can expect when it comes in. Shells, you've got AP with 1,000 meters a second velocity, which is good. APCR with 1,240, which is absolutely fine, really nice to have. And the HE is also pretty fast as well, with 980. View range of 380 meters is pretty decent, and 750 signal range. You can boost up that speed or view range to even higher if you're using some of the bonuses that you're going to be able to get. Now, armor model wise, probably the biggest thing about this tank is that yes, it does look fairly decent. There's going to be some areas where you can get penned. The top of the turret looks kind of weak, so you may be able to pen this thing in that top of the turret, but you've also got a cupola that's very slim, so I mean you're going to struggle to actually hit that, but since it's so bulbous and so big, when you do actually come around the side of it, it's going to be really easy to pen it through the side of this turret. I think the actual frontal armor on the hull armor is actually pretty decent. On that upper plate, it's very well angled. The lower plate is going to be able to be penned most likely by most things, and even the upper plate is probably going to get penned, but it just depends how severe that angle is when you look at it on a side profile, which unfortunately we don't have. Oh yes, we do. So, but you can't see it because the tracks are in the way with the little flashing over the top of the tracks. So that's a bit unfortunate. But yeah, overall, I kind of think it's going to be similar to what you see with the Vipera, just a speed boosted version. And of course, without the auto reloader or auto loader, it is a single shot, which is kind of interesting to see. And I'm looking forward to actually trying this tank out and giving it a go. But more importantly, what does this thing get upgraded to when you're using it in the Awakened or Monsters Awakened event? Now, what does that mean? You're probably thinking, what the hell, if you've been playing this game for less than a year? The Monsters Awaken event is essentially a wargaming event that runs in the game that is like a Halloween mode. Obviously, coming up towards Halloween at this point, they are kind of doing it as an event for the year. And every single one of the monster tanks, this is going to come in as a monster tank. And they are all kind of boosted in certain regards dependent on what their special power is. Now, for example, the Lycan T71 I think can go invisible or something like that. I think you also have various different other tanks, the Bellerophon having a kind of spear round or something like that. And yeah, there's loads of different ones and they all get special abilities during that game mode where you usually play on Himmelsdorf or like a spooky version of Himmelsdorf or, for example, a spooky version of Prokhorovka. Yeah, they have this kind of specific game mode. It's fun to play for a couple of games. You're probably not going to be spending a whole lot of time in it unless they bring out some challenges specifically based around that event. But other than that, what does this tank actually get? So it gets a Positron Blaster and a Tractor Beam. The Positron Blaster acts as a tank's standard shell, while the Tractor Beam calls upon its home planet's allies to abduct your enemy. So apparently it's going to bring them towards you maybe. Once the Tractor Beam has been activated, UFOs will appear above your target, lift them into the air and suspend them while dealing damage every second. So this should be pretty easy, pretty interesting. And of course, so they're going to be stuck floating in the air. They probably can't get gun depression to shoot you. And tanks struck directly by the Tractor Beam will take more damage. So if you miss, yeah, you will you'll not be able to stay away from as much damage. We've managed at the cost of much government scrutiny to assemble all the information you need here. And apparently it's not there. Brilliant. Oh dear. And while the World of Tanks Modern Armour team worked on the Roswell XM66F, a strange creature materialised at the studio. They adopted and named it Stephen. When asked what he was doing on Earth, Stephen replied, "To study, may I have a human sample from each department?" Oh, that sounds a bit dodgy given Stephen's back of his head. Yeah. Okay, Stephen's liking samples from Wargaming. That's not dodgy whatsoever. But apparently it's going to be like a 3D hero commander that you'll be able to stick in your tanks, I expect. So yeah. Pharaoh's Fury Ramses II. So this is the other tank. So this is the Cold War Escalation Era 2. So Era 2 in Cold War. This is a medium tank. And it kind of looks like what you would expect from a Soviet vehicle, the T-62M1, that sort of thing. Similar sort of play or similar sort of looking tank. And it's probably going to play like that. I don't know what they're going to... so it's affiliated with the Independence line. So you'll be able to play in the Independence with this vehicle. So train up your crews, etc. And get a bit of extra kind of XP during your games. But this is essentially a 65% silver tank that is pretty decent in all regards. You got 70 kilometers an hour top speed, which is really nice, 2,800 hit points. You've also then got a decent hull traverse and turret traverse. You've got 5 degrees of gun depression, which is kind of sucky. I mean, it's not great. 426 pen, which is okay, with 460 alpha, which is nice. 494 premium pen with the same alpha, and 250 pen with 570 alpha. So, I mean, it does get Hesh. It may be usable, I don't know, maybe for some of the light tanks that you're seeing, maybe some of those Weasel toes. But 3,200 damage per minute is okay. Nothing outrageously broken about this tank. View range of 485 meters, which is nice. So overall, tank looks like a bog standard kind of Soviet vehicle mixed in with some of the other kind of maybe Chinese vehicles, etc. So overall, looks pretty interesting. Looking forward to getting my hands on it and trying it out. And then this tank is actually going to be part of the Monster Hunter event mode as well. And so when it gets upgraded, you will get a flamethrower mechanic, and that will be a special shell. So much with the flamethrowers that we've seen, like the Churchill Oki or Oki or OK, whatever you want to call it. You also get a Scarab Swarm. It unleashes a visually unique projectile like flamethrowers that deals damage over time as long as you keep the finger on the trigger. The team of World of Tanks Modern Armour managed to uncover its secrets and translate them for your convenience. Head over here. It doesn't work again. Then, of course, you get a Mummy 3D Hero Commander as well, by the looks of it, which you'll be able to pick up for some money by all accounts. And so here you go. The Halloween 2023 bundle is probably the most important thing, is how much is it actually going to cost you. Let me just say, if you want to purchase all of the things that we talked about, so the 3D Commander and, of course, the 2 new premiums, it's 21,000 gold, which is very expensive, but at the same time, I guess if you really want 2 brand new tanks along with some hero commanders, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's still like £65. So yeah, make of that what you will. I probably wouldn't go with it. I'd probably pick one tank and decide whether or not I wanted it. If you want to purchase them each individually, for the Escalation Era 2, you're paying 13,700 with the Commander, and if you want the Roswell, you're paying 10,300 with the Stephen Commander as well. And then if you just want the tanks, then 19,600 for both of them, which isn't terrible. I mean, it's nothing outrageously good, but there they are. And then if you just want the commanders, they are 5,900 each. And then if you just want the tanks on their own, you can pick up the Cold War vehicle for 12,900 or the Roswell for 8,800, or of course each of the commanders for 3,300. So that's kind of the new tanks, the new event. Let me know what you guys actually think about these. Are you interested in them? Are you looking forward to the new Halloween mode that's coming out? But we do have a little bit of something extra, and we can jump over there right now, which comes in the form of some of the extra news that comes along from Wargaming Stream 2. So let's have a quick look and see what they're saying. So Halloween Part 1 begins on Tuesday. Monster Hunter returns, where you can earn your points and then pick your tank. Death Chariot, Arachnid and Asterion are all available this year. So what Wargaming always do with the Monster Hunter tanks is, for example, they've released the Roswell and they've released this new kind of Monster Hunter tank that we've just seen for Era 2, and both of those next year will then go into the free tank earn operation, where you can pick up one of your tanks from the Monster Hunter tanks by earning points. Dependent on the amount of points that you get, depends on what tier, like the tank you can get and stuff like that. So of course we'll be seeing that earn op points return again, where you can pick up last year's tanks essentially that were released, including the Death Chariot, the Arachnid and the Asterion. So if you pick those all up, well, you'll be able to pick one of them up, unfortunately. So once you pick one, you can't then pick another, so you have to save up your points to the end of the event, and then hopefully you have enough points to be able to purchase the one that you wanted, or if not, you can purchase one of the ones below for free, and by purchase I just mean redeem your points to get them. Once you pick your tank, the challenge finishes. Make sure you pick the right tank. You only get one choice. The first part of the challenge rewards you with the Nobody's Home skin for Arachnid. It will also be available to buy in the real and store bundles, so you can get that. Bundles, there are too many to go through here. In short, Halloween hits our game in the game store on Tuesday, so you can look at that. The new Halloween tanks, I guess we've already looked at them, so you guys know all about them. You'll also get new Halloween commanders, which we've went through, and you'll also get a boost to your XP when you're playing in those vehicles that are released. So all of the Monster Hunter tanks get ×2 commander XP during this kind of Halloween event mode that we have. The monster drop, so unlocked with any Halloween bundle purchase, win a battle, get a drop. Drops include the Garage Gear Werewolf, one of our new rare pieces of garage gear, so you'll be able to put it in the back of your garage alongside the event, so that's cool. Garage customization, so there'll be a crawling skeleton, there'll be a scarecrow, you've got a grave and a stack of hay bales, all for free. So when you log in, you get them all for free and you can place them anywhere you want. Also, with the Halloween gear coming into rotation, the following rare gears will be removed from the rotation. So you can't get the T-34-85 under repair. You won't be able to get the Progetto M40 under repair, the 60TP under repair, or the Nuke, which you can get as well in your garage. Halloween war chests start on Tuesday too, so it includes possible garage gear items as drops too. One finally spooky surprise coming on Tuesday is the Grim Graveyard and Hell's Highway Halloween maps, where they'll be sneaking their way into the normal map rotation for World War II and Cold War. And essentially, Grim Graveyard, I believe, is it's Himmelsdorf, I think, if I'm right in thinking. Hell's Highway, maybe this is the kind of highway version, or it will be maybe the Prokhorovka or some form of that mode. I don't know if they'll bring back the same one. I can't remember the name of them, but Hell's Highway's coming in. Maybe it's a version of Highway that we've already got that is now changed into a Halloween mode. Don't forget, keep adding to your garage customizations for a chance to be features on next week's stream as well. Then of course we've got the information and Q&A, which is always one of my favorite bits because we get to hear from Wargaming themselves on some of the questions that you guys actually ask. So first things first, will there be more mercenary tanks coming to World War II or Cold War? Yes, there are still a number of Merc tanks on the way. There are a few more on the schedule and more on backlog for both modes. Is there any chance that we will see the Weasel RMK-30? There are no plans for this tank currently, as it would go into the Detente era, and with only a 30mm cannon would make it a tricky tank to use and be any good. But there is consideration for the Weasel 1 Mark 30 or Mark 20 even, so there's that. Can you please consider buffing the Object 292? No plans to buff this tank at the moment. Can we have the ability to compare two tanks side by side? I think it's a really good suggestion and a great quality of life improvement. We will talk with production and UI and see what's possible here. This would be really good. I think that's actually a great question and could be something that would be nice just to see which tank you want to play. Maybe if you want to show off some of the differences between two of the tanks, it'd be handy for if I'm doing reviews, for example, for you guys to show off this is the typical tank compared to like another heavy tank or something like that, for example. I think it's a good idea, and for you guys to understand the differences between different tanks and stuff like that. Do the new Halloween commanders have voiceover? They do not have voiceover, unfortunately. Any chance the tier 10 E5 could receive some changes like the flattening of the commander hatch? Right now there are no plans to make any changes to the hatch as it was part of the original design of this tank, but we will however be giving it a bit of love in a future update. I actually think this tank is fine. I don't think you need to do anything with it. The E5's cupola back in the day used to be disgustingly powerful, very, very strong, and was annoying to pen. Now it's not so bad, but it's still not an easy pen 100% of the time. So I think it's in a decent place. I actually think the tank is in a decent place, and hopefully Wargaming don't go overboard and try and buff it way too much. But there you go. Is there any way to have the replay system to show exactly what you did in the game? For years, we've always been improving and doing some bug fixes with the system. We still want to add more fixes, but we just have other priorities, and you will see more improvements in the future. I think what the person here was trying to say is, can we actually see what our tank, when we're zooming into the mode or when we're actually turning around, what we were actually doing in the game? If any of you know what the World of Tanks replays on the PC version are like, where you literally see exactly where a person's aiming, even when they're like kind of in third person view holding RB, and they're kind of looking in a different direction to where you see the tank looking. Unfortunately, as it currently stands, it's just like a free camera and you can just zoom around and you don't actually see where a person was aiming or what they're thinking about or anything like that. So it's kind of just, in all fairness, pretty bad. I don't see the point in the replay system other than kind of maybe deciding what you could have done differently, like as in from a standpoint of a player just going in and be like, maybe I should have moved over here. Other than that, not really used to it. Will the console ever consider a military veteran program similar to what PC has? I'm going to reach out to the production team and live ops and see if this is something we want to consider, but I'm not aware of any ongoing discussions, but we'll reach out and see what we can do. Would be a good thing. Can we get Oddball's tank from Kelly's hero? Well, if there is enough demand and that then anything can happen, but there are already quite a number of Sherman variants in the game. I think it would just be cool, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter if there's a load of Sherman variants. If there is, and it's the exact same, it doesn't matter. People are still going to buy it. It's Oddball's tank. I think it would be a really cool crossover between World of Tanks and, of course, Kelly's Heroes. Can we please be able to sell emblems for silver? So there's no plans for this. Any further info about ATGM minimum arm distance? So this is something that they've been thinking out. It's still on their minds and they're still thinking about it. This is something that I think would be a really good choice. I feel like the ATGM's literally coming up next to you, firing off their round, using the Weasel Toe to travel at like 85 kilometers an hour, deal their damage, and then kind of scurry off, and you literally can't hit them 90% of the time. Yeah, I think that this would be a good thing because it just makes them have to do something other than just YOLO into you and deal damage rather than anything else. And any chance we get could get a seasonal roadmap so we know what to expect in the coming months. We have done this before, like for Tankfest, but it's very difficult as things often change, so it's difficult to share a roadmap with the public. If we can align and figure out a roadmap that then it's something we can think about and generalize things, then that we will know will be coming, then we can share a bit more. This is something I genuinely think they should have already done is, hey guys, we're going to be working on double-barreled tanks. We don't know when they're going to come in. We're going to be really honest. Sometimes we have issues implementing tanks like this. We're hoping we'll get them this year. If they can't come in, then hopefully next year, dependent on, how the game is going and that sort of stuff. Something like that would be really cool. Hey guys, we're thinking about introducing a new mode. What do you guys think? Hopefully we'll bring it in next year and we'll work towards it, or this is what we're working on or working towards, or something like that, just to share some information as to what we can expect in the upcoming months. I think that would be really, really fantastic, and hopefully Wargaming do it. But if you have any questions, if you have any kind of thoughts on this update, let me know in the comment section down below. It's always great to see you guys' feedback, and yeah, really enjoy you guys sticking around and being here as we're soon approaching probably like 16,500 subscribers, which is just mad. So yeah, just thank you all for just being absolutely crazy with your support and everything, and hopefully you'll join me in the next couple of videos coming out where we look at these new Halloween tanks when they go live, and of course something else a little bit different tomorrow. So yeah, I'll see you there. Goodbye.